You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another day of Ashes cricket, where England briefly showed some fight and then melted away in. I don't even know if there was Australian heat today in Australia. I'm Jack Hope. I'm joined by Max Rowe-Brown for another discussion about things that could have gone differently. How do you feel on this Boxing Day morning, Max?
I had a nice Christmas, so that was good. But cricket-wise, yeah, it's all very familiar, isn't it? I feel comforted because everything that I expected to happen after watching the first hour or so of play did in fact happen, and here we are, going round the merry-go-round once again.
England got off to a great start. Couldn't have gone better, I would say. Could not have gone better, and then I think it's probably fair to say could not have gone worse. After it could not have gone better. That's cricket, though, isn't it? We'll be talking about all of that and basically just that over the next 25 minutes or so. If you're joining us on YouTube, why don't you say hello in the chat, drop us a like, make sure you click subscribe. And the same goes to you if you're on Spotify or one of the other platforms. I'll check the number of reviews we've got for a shout out for those later in the podcast. But we're doing reasonably well. We're threatening Shane Warne. And that's where we want to be. Max, now I've done the messages. Do you want to summarise today's cricket?
Yes, let's do that. So, a Boxing Day test, the big spectacle, a record Boxing Day test crowd at the MCG, all very exciting, and all the chat going into it, apart from England's injury woes with Jofra Archer being out and Jacob Bethel coming in for Ollie Pope, was what Steve Smith said about the pitch and 10 millimetres of grass, which is quite a lot of grass for people who aren't aware of what grass levels are normal on a cricket pitch. A whole centimetre. Right,
yeah,
like
there's
that
another
much.
measurement that kicks in.
That's like a fairway if you're playing golf. That's a lot of grass, and so it proved because the ball was nipping around, and Atkinson bowling very nicely back in the side to replace Archer, very tight. Eventually got his rewards by snagging Travis Head, while at the other end Bryden Cast was bowling all sorts of nonsense. And once Tongue came into the attack, England kept coming. They bowled well for once. They bowled fuller. They bowled at the stumps. It caused problems, and Australia lost wickets in regular intervals. There was some fight in the middle order from Khawaja and Carey, Green until he was run out, and Michael Neser, England's chief tormentor. But after England wrapped up the tail, 152 all out. England cock a hoop. What a result! Barreling Australia out, looking at the prospect of a first innings lead and maybe salvaging some pride, and that hope faded as quickly as it arrived, as England in no time 8 for 3, 16 for 4, and only some fairly belligerent old school Bazball from Harry Brook got England back into to a point where they could make three figures, to be honest, as England wilted in the very English conditions, the overcast 15 degrees cauldron that they were faced with in the MCG. 110 all out, and that still left enough time for some more nonsense cricket as Scott Boland came out to open the batting on a king pair, was dropped at gully by Jacob Bethel, and then managed to eke out a 4 to end the day with Australia 46 ahead, 10 wickets in hand, and that 46 is suddenly looking more like a first innings lead of 150, having watched what unfolded on that first day. It was good old fashioned in the football on Boxing Day. There's only one Boxing Day fixture this year, which sucks. But normally, everyone's they've had their sherry and their turkey, and it all goes a bit nuts. And there are some really stupid games of football with some really ridiculous score lines, and it felt like that kind of fixture. This game, absolute nonsense from everyone, and good fun to watch, but maybe not if you've got a ticket for day 3.
Here's what I would say if you want to take the more optimistic view of what might happen. England aren't out of this test match. They have obviously blown an opportunity. Once again, their batting's let them down. If you look through this series, England have bowled well in 3 out of 7 innings now, and haven't had the batting to back them up in any of those test matches.
Any of them?
Yeah. The first one probably in particular. well, first and this one in particular. England bowled well. They bowled so well, in fact, that even though they batted as badly as they possibly could, they're still in this Test match. And what I'd say as well is that I kind of want to prognosticate too much, but normally on these kind of wickets, things get easier. You see surfaces like this quite a lot in England. They've been more common in Australia recently. Sometimes you get them in New Zealand and South Africa, where there's, they do this because there's concerns about the dryness
Falling
of the
apart
wicket, making it
test,
too easy to bat. Well, it's either falling apart or what happens at Melbourne sometimes, or sometimes at Lords and the Oval. The pitch, because it can't retain enough moisture, it drains really quickly, but they pack the clay so sort of, densely that it doesn't break up. It just stays sort of slow and low and flat. And we saw quite a few Test matches where it was slow and low and flat at Melbourne before they sort of started juicing them up a little bit by putting a little bit more grass on. All of that is to say is that probably the difficulty of batting on day one won't be replicated deeper into the Test match. It should, in theory, start to dry out, start to get a little bit slower, start to get a little bit lower, and it might not become. In fact, I'm pretty sure it won't become a surface where you can happily score at 6 and over with no risk. I think it will be quite a traditional cricket if it does become easier, but I think it will become easier. So I don't know. I mean, how do you summarise that day from an England perspective? It was a great day and then a terrible day that probably works out to a situation where you are about in the same position as you were, odds-wise, as at the beginning of the day. Might as well have cancelled the whole day. That's what I've come up with, Max. That's
a reductionist.
That's my theory on it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was interesting. I mean, it was a really difficult pitch to bat on, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah, it was. I think the combination of the ball nipping around a lot, and England actually finally getting their lengths right made it some enjoyable viewing for England fans for a bit. But I think the question I suppose that's coming into it now is the balance between bat and ball and whether that was too extreme. And I think it was one of those days at least. We'll see how it goes for the rest of the test, because I do agree with you that I think there's a chance it'll get a bit easier to bat on, as we see quite often. The question obviously is when that happens, but it was quite obviously extremely difficult to bat, and I think so. Khawaja faced 52 balls, which was the most of anyone in the entire day. Harry Brook faced 31 for the 34 for the 41 he scored, and Ben Stokes 38. And it was a little bit like, this is basically the maximum number of balls that you're going to face without eventually getting one with your name on it. Do what you can with it, have fun, because there was, when the ball is nipping around like that at pace, there is very little you can do, and if one just gets back and goes through the gap between bat and pad or nicks your outside edge, there's quite often very little you can do about it. So I have a lot of sympathy for the batters out there, in particular Jacob Bethel into the side to replace Ollie Pope. There you go, mate. Cheers lads, thanks for that one. But I would say there was still a lot of people who are culpable for their own downfall on both sides. I mean, Jake Weatherall's wicket strangled down the leg side was, you could say, unfortunate, but I think there's some signs there that that's just an issue. I think that given the number of times he's been out, with that ball fighting at his leg stump, that there's I think getting a little bit stuck around his front pad. And on the England side, Ben Duckett's wicket was pretty awful, as always. And a lot of just sort of gentle prodding that didn't go anywhere. So the way Harry Brook came out, and that was one of the big things at the time. Harry Brook's first ball to Mitchell Starc came dancing down and had a wild swipe, and everyone was like, "What the hell are you doing, you madman?" He kind of proved that was the right way to go, I think. What did you make of the way Harry Brook went about it?
I think he batted way for him that is most likely to score runs. There's a lot of players who can't do that. They can't. How many players in the world have you ever seen come down the wicket and hit someone over cover for 6?
Not
I
many.
can think of Surya Kumar Yadav can do it, and Sanju Samson does it quite a lot in the IPL. And there's probably a handful of other. I imagine there's a montage of AB de Villiers doing that somewhere on the internet, but not many people can do that. I think if you've got that in your locker, that was the way to bat on this pitch. Yes, I think like very evidently. And what you were saying, like the number of balls that had someone's names on was extremely high. It's like you do see lots of wickets go down in Test matches. Often in a day, you get mad days like this. So they happen probably more often than we think.
Well, there's one that happened a few weeks ago.
Yeah, usually you need a combination of good bowling and a helpful wicket for bowlers, and I think you had on both sides both of those things in space. They probably even more movement. I think. In fact, I think that this was borne out by the stats and the data. There was even more movement than Perth, which after the one I didn't think was particularly up to much. What was interesting as well, it seemed to be a little bit too paced as well. It's always a little bit harder to judge that because I think there's what does two pace mean? Like one man's two pace is another man's three paced. That doesn't make any sense, but you know what I mean. Like it's not that's you can see when the ball goes side to side, you can be like that one has gone from left to right. When the pitch is two pace, it's a little bit tricky to pick it up. But Duckett, I mean, I don't think it was a great shot, but it was also the shot someone plays on a pitch where they're not sure when the ball's going to arrive to them. And there are a few other players batting a little bit like that. You certainly saw some really fly through. Who was the England batter who was cut in half their wicket? Was that maybe Will Jacks? So they all went down so quickly. That was such a strange. I think it was Will Jacks. Like that one flew over the stumps, and we'd seen other ones, sort of like the Steve Smith one, for example. Not that different an area, I don't think. Smash into the middle stump.
Yeah.
So you've got like a bunch of factors in play. I think people will be hoping. What would be more entertaining for people is if we were on here eviscerating the England team and saying they are shocking at batting, and they are. Like there's the talk about the pitch and the quality of the Australian bowling, and it is quality bowling as well. I mean, like there'll be a bunch of other people being like, "There's no Hazelwood, there's no Lyon, there's no Cummins." It's like they might not have played Lyon on this pitch anyway. To be honest,
well, there's no way they'd have played Lyon on this pitch.
I'm right. Yeah, there's no Cummins, but like bowling's pretty good. It's not.
Yeah.
Well, look,
I mean, this is as much as this is a Scott Boland pitch through and through, right? Pitch it on a an aggressive, good length, hit the top of off, and let the pitch do the rest. And Scott Boland is going to do that 6 balls out of 6 every over, and it's a nightmare. And he was good and effective, and he got his 3 wickets doing just that. So yeah, I think when you've got someone who can do that on a pitch like this, the step up to going to Pat Cummins or Josh Hazelwood probably doesn't add that much to your lineup, does it? But basically, on the England side, I would argue that maybe there might have been some better options.
What, bowling wise?
Yeah.
Or like the shots they played.
Bowling wise.
Well, they're like, I don't know. But who would you pick? Like, tell me who you'd pick, then we'll talk about why they batted badly.
Yeah, well, so for me, it's just looking at the way it all played out, and partly a bit of hindsight from opening the bowling, but also not necessarily just hindsight, just the evidence that we saw from the previous test of Bryden Cast taking the new ball and wasting it. I would have just rather seen Potts. Like, I think he's got more control. He's a better kind of bowler for this kind of thing, and Bryden Cast. He has worked really hard. He's got loads of overs in his legs. Like, you cannot fault the effort that he's put in, but you don't get into Test cricket teams for putting a lot of effort in. And he's twice in 2 Test matches. He's had the new ball and he's been absolutely diabolical with it. And arguably, part of the reason that England ended up with a deficit of 42 at the end of the innings is because of the first 4 overs that Bryden Cast took with a new ball.
Okay, right.
At least some of it.
You can fairly say that. I think you can fairly say that. I think the performance of other pop bowlers mitigates the underperformance Cast in this case. And as a collective, I don't think
sure, like overall as an average, right? But if England want to win a game of cricket, then you know they need all their bowlers to go in and bowl well. And
well, look, we're going to see that. We're going to see what happens in the second innings. I think the question that people will want us to answer though is: could England have batted better? Like, is this another tragic performance from England? I mean, like we've talked a lot about the other mitigating factors. What are the factors related to the actual England team and the men with the sticks?
Yeah. Well, I think actually, I mean, so Harry Brook played the way he did because he can play the way he can. I think that's fair. But I do think there was, you look at Joe Root, 0 of 15, Zach Crawley 5 of 14. Normally, Zach Crawley is a bit more, I don't know, try to put a bit more emphasis in his innings. And I still feel like there was maybe a little hangover of England's previous exploits and giving silly wickets away when you sort of look at the way things are going, maybe this was the kind of time to try and be a bit bolder and get some, put a bit of pressure on the bowlers, maybe try and throw them off their lengths and try and get a little bit more out of the limited time that you're likely going to have on a pitch like this. But I think there's probably a limited amount that England could have done, really, just looking at the skill sets of the players, right? Like Zach Crawley and Ben Duckett and Jacob Bethel, are you going to back them to see through like a period of really tough play like that in the way that maybe Labuschagne, Smith and Khawaja can do? Absolutely not. They don't, they're not as good at that side of the game as those players. So I don't think there's a huge amount that you could expect at least England to have done. Maybe been a bit more, front-footed. Perhaps they'd have got an extra 20 runs out of it, but realistically, I don't think it was as expected, wasn't it? You saw what happened to the Aussie batters. You looked at that and was like, this is great, but I'm really scared about what's going to happen when England go out there with the bat. And exactly that, really. Just good job that Harry Brook did what he did. Otherwise, it would have been an absolute clusterfuck.
Yeah,
and for some inexplicable reason, Australia decided when England had 3 wickets left that they're going to start bowling short stuff at Atkinson for no apparent reason, and gave England the bonus 20 runs that way as well, which was nice of them, I thought. Very spirited, very Christmas spirit.
Yeah, well, you've let England off the hook there, haven't you?
I have.
I don't know. Like, I think any
so
team,
used to them being bad. It's Stockholm syndrome now, isn't it? That's the
any
level.
team that is bowled out in 30 overs in a test match, I think has done something wrong. And there is a level of culpability there that has to be acknowledged. Like I think realistically, if you did the bell curve of probabilities, matching Australia's score was probably about the average expectation from this England batting team, with maybe the top quartile, the top 25% of scores being somewhere around 200. I think that is quite. What is disappointing is that the same bell curve for Australia stretches out probably beyond 200 because the England bowling is worse. So England have managed to bowl themselves into a position where their set of likely outcomes actually matched up pretty well with the Australian set of outcomes. So it's sad from that perspective that they delivered, or that they under-delivered here. Like what you want to be able to do now is say, well, they shouldn't have played this shot and they shouldn't have played that shot, and that's much harder to do because most
didn't really
of the
play any
balls,
shots when they got out.
Yeah, well, exactly. Most of the wicket balls are a batter trying to defend, edging one to a wicketkeeper, or being pinned LBW or bowled. Like there's not really a litany of crazy wickets in there. It's sort of like quite standard test match wickets. If you wanted to get a little bit deeper and talk about player skills, I think you could question the ability, as you were sort of saying. You could question the ability of Crawley, Duckett, Bethel, Brook. You could question their ability to defend for extended periods of time on difficult surfaces. I think that point of view generally comes from a cricketing era that's slightly outdated. I think the bowling is a bit too good these days. The usage of DRS, meaning that you are giving out LBW on the front foot. The speed of the bowlers is higher, and this pitch was more juicy than average. I think that combination of things means that some sort of extended blocking vigil from someone might not have been that realistic. I think what this comes down to, from a really cold analytical perspective, is that England needed to be a little bit more lucky than they were. Like they needed to inside edge a couple of the ones where they were out LBW, or the one where they were out LBW. I think that Brook needed to hit that onto his leg, and Bethel needed to miss the one that he edged. Probably say the same for Root. Like these things are quite marginal. You needed in those scenarios really micro things to go your way to get a score up, and they didn't for England, and that is it's difficult here to blame the application of the players.
So
I
you've
think
let
what
England
would
off
have
the
been
hook as well.
what I think would have been interesting, and I said this in the last test. What I think would have been interesting if a few more of them had taken the Harry Brook route. Really, only Harry Brook takes the Harry Brook route, and he does it instantly. Ball one in his innings, he's like, I'm not playing the way that everyone else is playing in this whole test match. I'm going to do my own thing, and he has top scored. Now Brook he's a frustrating player, but he is also, almost genius level when it comes to shot making. He's a preposterously good cricketer. So holding him up and telling everyone just be Harry Brook is not that easy. But Crawley has got a more aggressive innings in his locker. Root has got a more aggressive innings in his locker, and
that's what I was saying, right? Like they got stuck in that sort of mode that they've seen for the last test and a half, where England have been sort of backed into a corner and told to put the shots away. And actually, today was a day where maybe the shots should have come out a bit more, because you were talking about that luck point, and that's kind of what that mode of cricket is all about: living on that edge of luck and taking a balanced or educated risk to say that actually, I think with these full shots, there's upside, and there's the amount of risk that increases is comparatively worth it. And I think that is even more of the case on a pitch like this, where if you're prodding around, you've got quite a high chance of not going anywhere. At least there's a chance that you'll squirt one off the edge, get a couple, or at least make the bowler think and put them off and make it a bit easier and give yourself a chance that way. So I think
they're trapped in a vortex, though. They are trapped in a vortex where they will get far less
do that and they get slammed. Yeah,
they will get far less criticism for playing in a way that they don't really have the capability to play.
They're taking the easy way out because they're weak men, and Ben Stokes needs to fire them all. That's the conclusion.
I do think there is sort of a hypocrisy to how England have ended up playing in the last two matches. Where they've said they want to take the positive option, and when they have had the opportunity to take the positive option, they've blocked for 4 hours in the previous test to make a point. Basically, I think and it was a point that probably needed to be made, but not that way. You say to people, stop fucking playing drives on the up, try and score your run somewhere another way. You don't take the best batting conditions for the entire match and block through them. And I think in this test match, it's like, what? I don't know what they expected to be the outcome. So, my criticism of England here basically comes down to them not playing enough stupid shots. They play too many sensible shots, and they're not very good at playing sensible shots.
Harry Brook will be captain soon, so we've got all that to look forward to.
Well, that'll be great. Look, Matt, so we've got 5 minutes left. Should we do heroes and villains for the day? Who's your hero?
Yeah, can do.
We never counted up this. It was going to have to be a completely vibes-based review of the Ashes.
It's a tough one. I think here honourable shouts of hero for Josh Tongue for a fifer coming in and bowling pretty nicely. I think similar to Gus Atkinson, got through his work well, but I don't know. I think from an England perspective, Harry Brook deserves a go for giving England some hope. But I actually am going to go with Jacob Bethel for his puppy-like fielding that ultimately ended up in us getting an excellent view of his boxers on Boxing Day. I thought it was fitting, and I enjoyed it.
Very good. I'll say hero. I mean, it wasn't really a day for heroes, was it?
No.
Let's go with Tongue. He took the most wickets. He's now the big what if about in the Ashes series, and I think it's good that England have got a what if to fall back on. What if Tongue had played all
We've
the
got
matches?
a couple now.
What if England had managed to get Tongue and Wood and Archer in one bowling attack? Then we'd have won 5-0. Then it would have been an easy win for England. Like now we've got that. So that's a heroic thing to do from Tongue or Tong. No one's really sure. Is he sure? Never heard him say his own surname. Villains. I think the villain is very obvious. The curator of this pitch. It's a bad pitch. It's a shocking pitch to have rolled out in a marquee series. So this in any series, to be honest. If this happened anywhere in the world.
I mean, it's the kind of grass
being rightly criticised
that we play on. Yeah. And even then, we'd be rocking up being like, "Where's the lawnmower, lads?
Yeah.
What's happened?"
I don't like pitches like this anywhere in the world, and they deserve criticism anywhere in the world. This is a bad one, a bad pitch. You villain?
I mean, overall, it's hard to look past what's ended up with the pitch. I think Bryden Cast deserves a second place though for the way he bowled this in the morning session. He was
a good
really
run out
bad.
though. It was a good run out.
It was a good run out. He was a good run out, and that did sort of lead to the quickening of the end of the Australian innings. So fair play to him for that. But yeah, on a pitch like that, when you got the new ball and you go and throw down four overs of that nonsense, and basically give Australia a 25-run head start, you are certainly culpable to a degree. Okay. And again, not entirely his fault because he's not an opening bowler, and England seem to have decided that an opening bowler isn't a skill set that actually matters in Test cricket, which is a slightly bizarre approach to take. But here we are. He was given the new ball and he was bad. So I am chalking up villainous points against him, but not enough to overcome 10 millimeters of grass.
What do you think will happen tomorrow?
I think Australia will end up being bowled out for 200 because it'll still be juicy. And then it's going to flatten out and England are going to chase down 250 for 4 or 5 without any difficulties at all on day 3. And we'll all have forgotten about it all in no time. Slightly flippant, but I do think there is a chance that is how it unfolds. It is, I think, this test comes down to how quickly the pitch settles, if it does at all. If it doesn't really settle down, then Australia win because they've got a 46-run lead, which at the moment, which is translates to quite a lot more if you think about actual proper cricket. But if it does settle down and the settling down happens too late for Australia's innings, then England do have a genuine chance of winning this Test match, I think. So it's in the hands of Mother Nature.
It's an extremely overused cliche in Test cricket that the next hour is crucial. But I do think if you're going to stay up late to watch any session in this series or any remaining session in this series, so there were probably better ones to watch earlier in the when it was still a live series. If Australia could be 120 for 3 at lunch, and I think at that point the game is over. Or they could be sort of 60 for 4 again, similar to the first innings. But in that scenario, England have a proper chance in this Test match. I can't. I mean, if it stays as difficult to bat as it is, then they're fucked. But I think there's a good chance it will get easier. They need to bowl really well. I think. What are the chances of England bowling well twice in a match though? Pretty low. So probably Australia.
I don't know. They only have to get through 40 overs. I think they can do it.
You can. No. I think if I was
just no.
I just don't. I think we need to be realistic about what they're likely to do, and
4
they're
test
likely
matches
to
in,
use.
and I'm still hopeful of
Yeah.
things that have not yet surfaced in the last 2 months. It's somewhat foolish, isn't it?
Yeah. Right. Look, someone has pointed out in the chat, Loopy, thank you for that England took a team hat trick. So that was pretty heroic. Well, we should have said just the England team for a heroic 3 balls.
I think is Josh Tongue
Also-
on a hat trick as well?
Yeah, why not? And then the other thing we would say is we are on 695 Spotify reviews. So we're now only 13 Spotify reviews behind SK Warren.
Great man.
Yeah. Help us get there. Tell your friends, get them to review it. Get your girlfriend's phone or your boyfriend's phone. I know the audience stats. It'll be your girlfriend's phone if you've got a girlfriend, which is frankly unlikely if you're listening to this. Get a friend's phone. Get someone else's phone. Look, it doesn't matter who it is. Leave a review.
Well, preferably someone you know. Don't just grab a stranger's phone.
Don't do that.
Especially at Christmas.
If you do that, make sure you leave a review before you sell it on the black market. Okay.
A good one.
Sound fair. Right. Yeah. Thanks very much for listening and watching. We'll be back tomorrow. Bye-bye.